All right, who's up first? Open Q&A.
Okay, I'll go. My ads have been performing so well, and they're just photos. So I have heaps of people coming in to do calls, sovereign wealth strategy calls, and then I have started offering 6 weeks as well as the group container because a lot of people just want to do it one-on-one and get their 6 calls done and get everything sorted straight away. And then I'm offering the 12-week sovereign wealth container. I'm just wondering, should I be charging for that first call that $49, or I've been just doing that for free and then selling them into the 6 or putting them into the wait list for the workshop or selling into the 12-week. So I feel like I've got a few things happening and I just want to have proper direction on what to do because I feel like I'm just feeling out at the moment.
Okay. How many calls have you had booked from the ads?
4.
Okay. From what ad spend?
I haven't looked at that yet. I'll have a look.
Okay. Probably the first thing is we don't have enough data. Have you had all of the calls?
No, I've got 2 coming up.
Okay. Yeah. Typically when you do things that share wealth, you get a lot of engagement and interaction and stuff like that. People want to make money. Sovereign wealth, people want that. So it's going to perform well so long as you stay within the constraints of the Facebook ad platform for ads. If you promise too much, then they're just going to ban you. So 4 calls booked is good, but it's not enough data to be able to have conclusive certainty around direction for it. The thing that we look at as well is, again, every single person wants one-on-one. But the core thing with this is we want to set up our pricing so that people go into our group rather than our one-to-one.
Yeah.
So the piece with that is creating that comparative analysis that we talked about in probably like the first session, which is the ratios of what our pricing is. Some people are still going to do it regardless of what our price is. When it's, this isn't a cool one, but that's okay. The reason why we price it like this is because people want one-on-one, and there's a time and a place to be able to take people on one-on-one, but there's a time and a place as well to be able to put people into groups. And when someone gives me the feedback of they just want to do it all one-on-one, it's like you probably just haven't communicated the group as effectively as possible then. We also just check in with, are they like our premium buyer? Are they a 70% or a 30%er? To be able to then do that. And again, if you've only done 2 calls and you still got you need at least 3 data points to be able to spot a trend for something. So if you've only done 2 of the 4 calls and we don't have enough data just yet. So yes, my thought for that would be when you've done 10 calls, you can make the decision whether you turn it into a paid application call or not.
Okay.
Before that, a great example of this is we took men's medicine through this process with their retreats, and the first time that they ran the retreats, had all of these people booking for calls. They had so many calls that had to get done to be able to fill a retreat. That we then said, okay, well, we add in an extra layer of qualification, which is paid applications, something like $50 or whatever. But that meant that they did half the number of calls to be able to fill the retreat. So the way that we look at it is how many do we have, and then we determine, do we add a piece of qualification beforehand or just do it on the call. We'll be talking about this on the call tomorrow as well, but the short version of it is there are certain steps that people go through. This plays out like with everything. If you're doing it on stage, it's exactly the same. If you're doing it on calls, it's exactly the same. If you're selling in DMs, it's exactly the same. People signal their interest first of all. They're like, hey, I want more. And then you take them through a process of qualifying them. And once we recognize that they're qualified, then we make them an offer and then they can buy it. If we do the qualification on the sales call, then we get more sales calls but a lower close rate, and that's fine when you don't have many calls coming in. But when you're getting a shit ton of calls in, a dozen a week or something, then it's like, well, we need to change it so that the qualification occurs before the call.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's no absolute right or wrong. Right now, you're kind of in the right place because you've got a couple of calls booked in from it. And then it's still keeping the concurrent timelines of, okay, cool, what's the masterclass that we're going to run? What's the sovereign program? Do we feed some people into each of those things? Your ability to be able to hold those concurrent timelines determines how much money you can make most of the time. Like in my mind, I have, okay, cool, what are the upcoming masterclasses that we're running? What are the low ticket things? What is the thing that I'm currently running? What are the what is the next event we have in May? And what's the next 2 events that we have in June? And then what do we have in July? And holding all of the different timelines of each of those things. For you, it's not at that level right now. It's okay, let's get these masterclasses done, get the people coming through the process, get the masterclasses, and then launch the offer to be able to turn that into cash.
Yeah.
It normally requires, when you haven't launched things effectively in the past, you've just done some posts and stuff like that, but you haven't done a full launch sequence. It's capacity expanding the first time you do it. So really, you're right where you need to be.
Amazing.
Cool.
Thanks.
Great question. All right, who's up next? Open Q&A.
Are you checking? Would you check my solutions model?
This one?
That one. Yeah, just looking for feedback. Thank you.
Okay, so we're at the point where I normally just go through it all as I would if I was selling to your peeps. So normally when I do that, can you guys see this? See the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people come to us, they normally come to me and they're doubting themselves. They've got issues around money. There's some scarcity playing out. They might have a good job, but they recognize they're here for creating more than that, and they're just busy in life. The way that we kind of create that shift from with doubt and scarcity is mastering channeling, shifting your frequency, and getting on mission. That's out of order, but that's okay. We take you from self-doubt to actually creating trust. Take you from scarcity to prosperity when it comes to money. Take you from busy to actually spacious in your life. And that allows you to become that new earth human that you know that you're here to be. The way that we create that trust and prosperity is by learning. I don't know how you deliver this, but by giving you activations, or are you giving them activations or teaching them how to do activations?
It's both. What do you mean it's out of order? Which one's out of order?
It's just the sequence of the slides. It's not you.
Okay.
It's just my thought. Anyway, activations. So we're going to take you through activations. We're going to take you through some embodiment practices and mastery of channeling actually coming up to open up and really tune in and trust the channel that you already have. Because a lot of people, know what's for them, they just don't action it. And this really allows you to be able to take you from fearful to trusting. And there's a friction point there. You can't have trusting then. That's probably knowing, but we'll come back to that. So to go from self-doubt to trust and busy to spacious, we're going to get you on mission, which is going through our ascension process, allowing you to fully express yourself and getting into your transmission of what you're here to be able to bring to the world. And that's going to take you from self-led to source-led. Then when we're looking at going from scarcity to prosperity and busy to spacious, we're going to be going through our blueprint process, our recode process, and our crystallized process, which is going to shift your frequency, which is going to allow you to go from limited to expansive. And we bring all of those things together. That is ultimately how we create you becoming the new Earth human. And that's what we do in our 12-month container. Okay. So first thing that we look at here is, knowing's the first one. It's self-led to source-led. I'm unsure about
How about mission-led?
No, we can't have mission-led here because we've got mission here. I think it's just almost externally led. So will people see my mind, the way that I just go through it is I run through, will they say, yes, this is me?
Okay.
It's probably going to be easier for them to say that they're self-led.
How about humanity-led?
And this is the negative. Where are they currently that they don't? Which is why external led is going to be much closer.
Yeah.
You might just create different language for it. So maybe society led is probably better. Led by what society tells you to do rather than what you know you're here for.
Yeah.
Society tells you to get the good, secure job at the government, even though it kills you.
Low.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good now. It's just going to be, how do you communicate each of these things? Not knowing exactly what you're going to take people through, I just kind of wing it through there. But you're going to know that pretty easy, but that's already at a point where you can use it to sell.
Can what, sorry?
Use it to sell.
Okay. And for my event on Saturday, could I use this model or stick to the other one, but using elements of this?
So 1 day event selling into the 3-day event?
Yes.
You'll use the other models.
Okay.
Because this I mean, what we can do is
I feel that doing this has really helped me to get clear on what I do on the 1 day event and sell the 3-day. So, because some things are connected, some things are similar. So that helps.
Yeah. Send me your slides. There's a way that we can do it where we can put this beside your pyramid model and just put this on the higher version of the pyramid model.
What do you mean when you say higher version?
You just need to send it to me.
Which one do I send it to you?
Your slide deck for this weekend.
Oh, okay. No worries.
and then I'll be able to explain that better.
Okay. Thank you.
All good. All right, who's up next? Open to Q&A.
I'll go again if no one's going to go. I have 3 people also in my inbox around coaching,
Yeah.
like personal coaching, and I am too scared to sell them to the 6 month. I'm like, maybe I should just do an 8-week. Why is this coming up for me? What's going on here? Why don't I want to do the 6 month? Why do I want to create an 8-week? I feel like if I create an 8-week, they're more likely to say yes at that than 6 months.
Okay. What do you most struggle with the selling the 6 month? Is it the 6 months or the price point or both?
I think it's the 6 months.
Okay. And what do you think is, so it's based on, your avoidance of rejection then?
Probably.
Well, I don't know, is it?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we all do it to a certain degree. We play certain games that allow us to avoid being rejected, and again, that doesn't actually create change for people.
Hmm.
And part of growth is expanding our tolerance and capacity for rejection.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm just going to sell the 6 month. And if it's a no, great, right? It's reps. I'm putting in the reps for selling the 6 month program.
Yeah, and part of it is getting actually behind the 6 months, because yes, they're going to get shifts in 8 weeks, but what's going to be the difference in terms of the shifts that it's going to create for them if they commit to the 6 months? They will be different in 8 weeks, but they're going to be an entirely different person in 6 months.
Yeah.
And you can fall back into it being about you and your rejection, or it being about feeling those feelings as they come up and offering them what's going to be of the highest service to them.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
People want the shortest, easiest, cheapest things a lot of the time, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the thing that's going to actually support them. And when we go through the sales stuff tomorrow, it's recognizing, are they actually a fit for this offer? Are they at an appropriate place in their life that it makes sense for them to then do this? When I'm getting people to look at their numbers in their business, we're looking at leads, appointments, presentation, sales. Just because you've got an appointment doesn't mean that you present price to them, because they might not be a fit. And you recognizing who is a fit is important, because you make offers to people that are a fit. And there's also no avoiding the facing off with the rejection piece. And that becomes an ongoing journey.
Pardon?
that becomes an ongoing journey and facing off with it again and again based on the new levels that you step into.
Yeah. I know there's actually four. One is someone that's worked with me previously and had great results, and she's ready to come back and do some more work. And so I know all four of them on a personal level, like we've been in each other's lives. And I think I know that they will get so much out of working for me, but then it's also being rejected from these people as well. If they were people that I didn't know, then I would have quite happily jump on a call with them and offer them the 6 months. But because I know them, I'm like, oh, I just want to offer them this because then they might work with me, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Big girl pants are going on.
Yeah, it really comes down to the standards that you hold people to. People will try and lower, like, as soon as you lower your standards as a coach, what happens is you'll start to resent those people because you lowered your standards. There's a big difference that you show up energetically when you show up to a one-on-one call where people are paid on it, $5,000 for, I don't know, 12 weeks versus $30,000 for 12 weeks. And although you will intellectually and logically say, oh, I shop the same regardless, it's like, well, no. The energy exchange is different. And when you pander to the basic relationship that you have with that person already, you actually don't serve them. You just enroll each other in smallness and bullshit. The job of the coach is to be able to hold that higher standard for people, even if you have a pre-existing relationship with them. Like I had someone say to me, hey, I love your stuff. Let's do an exchange for this thing because you want to do some work with me. And I'm like, no. I recognize that in me financially paying you money, then that's going to work out better for me and better for you. And then if you choose to pay me money for things, great. If not, let's not do that. Let's not, let's not use our current friendship and relationship as an opportunity to lower our standards.
Yeah, amazing. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's up next?
I have another question.
Yeah.
I've been tuning in, and I still feel like it would be best to open my group program for people to join 4 times a week rather than once a month. Because then I'm like, oh, I'll just do it next month, or I'll just do it next month, or I'll just do it next month. You know what I mean? And like I'm thinking about having modules, like 4 modules. What?
So you want to allow people to join once per week?
No, once per 4 months. No, once every 3 months. So
Okay.
4 times per year. Sorry, I maybe if I said something else.
Okay. So what you're then saying is you feel like you're going to be okay with not getting much new money coming in for 4 months.
Or 3 months.
Yeah.
But doesn't that mean it's like it creates the scarcity? Because I don't see how it creates a scarcity monthly. But I see how it creates scarcity. Well, the next one is only opening in 3 months.
Scarcity is based on the number of people that you have come in. So
Okay.
there's only 2 spaces this month, and it's filled up for the last 3 months in a row.
Okay, so it's based on the number of people that you have come in. Okay, that's not how I've been looking at it.
So there's 2 things. There's scarcity, which is limiting the number, and then there's urgency, which is having a deadline. Again, these are our 2 primary buying pillars. It's if there's a deadline, I can join, I can apply this month, but then it'll be at least a month before I do the next one. And it could be even longer than a month. The thing that we look at is we're regulating the supply and demand tension based on growing the demand for our offers over time. So if you run a 3-day event, you might open up to the public after the 3-day event to be able to join your 12-month container as well. But you might be only selling the month before the 3-day event, You might not actually take any people in that month to the 12-month container.
Okay. And I have a feeling and talk about that because I've seen people talk about currently not taking any clients, and it does give this credibility to them. So
it is communicating the supply and demand tension.
tension. Okay.
Yeah. So right now, this Friday, fucking gonna get my party on. Woo! Gonna see some of my favorite DJs in Brisbane. Above and beyond. And classic. I just had to open up my Facebook to show you. Hold on, yep, everything's closed up. They highlight supply and demand tension all the time. They're like 200 tickets remaining. They've done the promotion of it really well. So they're like, okay, cool, final chance to get tickets this Saturday. What the fuck? I'm pretty sure it's Friday, isn't it? Anyway.
Well, like you checked. Well, April 10th is Friday.
Let's have a look. It comes up as my diary is Friday. Yeah, it is Friday. Anyway. April 10. They just must have the wrong thing on it up here. Because April 10.
Or maybe it's so people can comment and get the.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. They might not be on until after midnight either. But anyway. So what they're doing is they're communicating, okay, cool. Hey, there's only a certain number of spaces left. They've got a deadline. It's this weekend. They're communicating the supply and demand tension. Every single business has supply and demand tension. It is just that most people don't communicate it. And if there is no supply and demand tension, then there is no desire for that thing or less desire. The core component that we want to look at is there is no absolute rules with how often you open up for this example. Many people that are on this call or listening to the replay will be doing what we call cohorts, meaning a 3-day event is like a cohort. There's a time that it starts, there's a time that it finishes. Many people are doing a 12-week program where there's a start time and there's a finish time. That's a cohort. There is urgency embedded within that because it starts and then you can't join it again. If you have a 12-month container like Ruby is talking about, then there is not the regular urgency that occurs with that container. So you communicate how there is urgency. the other aspect to it is you, depending on how much you want to launch, will determine potentially how much you open up things for it. Like, I wouldn't consider that we have launched anything this year. Even this, for the promotion for this was 5 emails. 5 emails, talked about it in an event, and then give it to our clients. Is that like a full launch of like us going hardcore to be able to fill this up as much as possible? No. And do we want to fill it up as much as possible? Not really, because what we're speaking to is much more different offer. We're speaking to people that are already making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month in our market-facing messaging. So to talk about an offer which is mostly targeted to people who are doing, 5, 10, 15, maybe 20K months, it doesn't align with our market-facing messaging. So what it comes down to is whatever offer that you have, are you creating awareness around the supply and demand tension? That can even play out. If you're running something free, you might not have a cap on how many people you take on. Or you might. There's going to be urgency because you're running it at a certain date. And you might cap it at something. Like we will, for our banked thing, how to turn chats into cash, we'll cap how many people we take in on that live, and then people can get access to recordings and stuff. So we communicate that supply and demand tension. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. That makes sense now.
Yeah. There's no absolute strategy with it. It is understanding the principles and then applying the principles to the context of your business. They are already at play. They're already there. It is, are you communicating them? Okay, good question. Who's up next? Or are we just going to alternate between Haley and Rubio all day? Go 1 for 1 each question. If World War III happened, what's your plan? I'm not really that concerned about World War III. You make sure you diversified with Haley. I'm less concerned about World War III. We have had for decades and decades and decades and decades and decades. We've had the capacity to be able to destroy the world. And my view of it is, based on David Hawkins' levels of consciousness, so long as the level of consciousness of humanity remains above 200, then the world won't destroy itself. And it sits. In 1988, it raised to its highest level, and I think it's been basically at that same level since, which is about 207. And for those of you who don't know David Hawkins' work, it's a logarithmic scale. So 200 to 207 is huge. Logarithmic scale. That's not close. because that's like 207 to the multiplier of 10. So 200 to 201 is a big jump. 202, 203, all the way up to 207. It hasn't dropped below that since. And from that level, humanity, the higher levels of consciousness people rebalance everyone else below that. With the born against moving to the X4, that we're helping them get it high. Yeah. So the universal law of balance plays out. Everything is already always balanced. There is the ongoing balancing of what plays out. Every sort of thing recently that every 11 years, or every 11 years that the US goes to war with someone, because it forces them to print more money and do all the things and creates this perfect system. And often what happens is during these times, fear becomes the predominant energetic frequency for people. So it lowers their personal level of consciousness. But again, it's about the people who are above the 200 and the levels of consciousness, the highest levels of consciousness, are the people that rebalance everything else. One person above at the level of enlightenment, I think it's above 700, balances out 3 million people below 200. So in times like this as well, there's not necessarily more fear. It's just more evident that people's fears become externalized rather than internalized. Yeah, things are going to play out in the world. And, one of my things at the moment is that I love to say is, the economy is not your economy. The war in the world doesn't have to be your war with the world. There'll be seasons of peace and there'll be seasons of war. And people who are in fear will fall back to their basic patterns, basic needs. And people that recognize that all of those things are external understand that food, water, power, all of those things flow to where there is already energy. It's where there is already energy. When the predominant currency of the world changes, what happens? Well, people who move where the energy is moving and where the value is moving, just access it there. And we all, it means that if you see yourself as valuable, then you will always have access to value all the things that you value, the things that allow you to eat, to get power, to do all of those things. Because you become the actual creator of it rather than being this external thing. People fall into the external. And people who value themselves, not by saying, I invested in this thing, so I'm valuing myself. And people who value themselves create value in ecosystems. And value is exchanged for value, whatever the medium is for exchange of that value, whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's money, whether that's any of those things. People who create value for other people siphon that exchange. That exchange moves through them. There is always exchange. And there's always going to be a reason. There's always going to be a reason for us to fall back into scarcity, to fall into fear, to fall into each of those things. And we get to choose where we come from energetically. What book can I read? Have you read any David Hawkins stuff? Starting point for David Hawkins stuff is either Letting Go or Transcending Levels of Consciousness. The main book that people start with is Power vs. Force. It's a bit intellectual for my liking. This is the Transcending Levels of Consciousness and Letting Go are much more practical. The value stuff is not necessarily in there. That's from other places. The masses of humans live lives of quiet desperation, while the masters sit, enjoy, and move with whatever circumstances and constraints are playing out in that season. Masses will talk about this is what's going on, and you'll see it now. Even more people will create hate online. They have this yearning to be able to feel powerful, so then they comment on things, especially for people who are saying they can go beyond their circumstances, because they're creating an enrolling of the people around them and what their circumstances are currently giving them rather than what's possible. Your current circumstances are not your final destination. And people look to people who lead themselves in times like this. Times of uncertainty, unknown, collective. The collective is in fear. Is where most people gain the majority of their strength. Masters gain more strength when there's more constraint. When it's hardest, that's when they get strongest. So I'm less concerned with World War III. It's always a possibility, and yet that possibility is there always. Now that we have the capacity, since we've entered the atomic age, to be able to destroy all of society, it's less about our perceived levels of closeness to that and more about how we are with ourselves, because that creates more of an impact rather than focusing on the external. That's why I used to create chaos and survival. Not sure which that was in relation to, that statement. Constraints. Yeah. There becomes a time where the struggle becomes such an identity, and the identity of being the battler or the comeback person allows us to be able to go through this cycle of creating extra constraints so that we feel that it's worth it. And although we're going to go through experiences of that, and many ultra successful people go through that, to become a billionaire, you got to have a couple of bankruptcies, they say. It's like, well, yeah, that's one path. And there are also other paths. You don't have to always go back to zero in your bank account. And again, masters create with whatever constraints that they're facing. Every single person has time constraints. Every single person has financial constraints. Even Elon Musk has financial constraints. Often that's just a lack of creativity, though. It's like he goes to go buy Twitter, but how much money did he have in the bank? Not much. So who becomes creative? Money flows to where creative solutions are created. So he gets creative and he goes to, what's that guy's name? What's the you can see his face. Who's the guy who created Oracle? Yeah, old mate. Larry Ellison, I think. Google it. Larry Ellison. He goes to his old mate, and he goes, "Hey, want to buy Twitter? You want in?" That's like the text that he sends to this billionaire mate that he has. And he goes, "Yep, put me down for a couple of bill." Couple of $1 billion. Just, all right, yep, I'll put that into that. I see the importance of free speech on Twitter. I'll put $1 billion, a couple of $1 billion into that. I'll help fund it. What is Elon Musk do? Doesn't have all of the money there, so he goes, all right, well, I'm going to allocate some of my Tesla stock and put that down as collateral to be able to then do that. So he gets creative. Money flows to where creativity is expressed most. Because if you create your group program and it's just a fucking carbon copy of your fucking thing that you've learned from me, it's like, well, it's gonna be okay. But the magic will be when it is you expressing your creative, you putting your heart into it, you putting your devotion into that thing. So wherever you're at with constraints, use them. Cool. Any other questions as we start to get on the home stretch on this one? We have Libby Goldark. I think you're driving, but I'm gonna give a couple of pieces about the name of your program. So you said in Telegram, Expansion mastery for practitioners ready to expand their practice and incoming capacity. Yeah, that kind of sounds good. Or you could do the obvious expansion codes, which work alongside dragon codes. I wonder if putting codes is too squarely in the woo-woo, but it's lots of woo. Codes are an interesting thing. When I look at codes, I look at it as a marketing word. People don't look at the entire. Every word is its own world. Holographic principle, number whatever, 4 or 5. Every word has its own world. And when we look at the world of the word code, we have our code to unlock our phone. Gonna come up with my code, and then that unlocks it. Codes often become more either broad, so you get a lot more entry-level people. We do codes, but it then also gets the masses, so you get some good people. And the same thing kind of plays out with mastery. Mastery becomes this thing which is overdone. It's like, oh, mastery of this. The deeper level that I like of this is how do we get so specific in terms of the outcome that they're going to get from it that we speak to that rather than the name of it. No, like no one gives a shit about Nat's light codes until she's taught people to give a shit about it. So the name of a masterclass becomes important because it's the first thing that people read. The name of a program is more about how you teach them to want that thing than anything else. And the best aspect of that is how do we communicate exactly what are the outcomes that they truly desire that they're going to get from that thing. And I can drop I'll find a training on getting clear on that in the chat for people if you want, the group chat. Which is, if you're looking at if I'm doing banked and I'm saying, hey, you're going to turn chats into cash. That's okay. It's a good start, but it's going to be more powerful to be able to speak to the exact moment that people recognize that they've got that thing. So chats into cash is good, but chats into getting that message, money sent, makes it even more powerful. How to turn have been following you for a while and love to work with you into money sent. Because again, it's speaking to two very specific moments. How to turn one for this one was how to turn one-on-one clients into that moment where you get off the sales call and you recognize, holy shit, I just sold out my group. That's different to everyone else, which is like, hey, get another client. Get another one-on-one. Another example is take people from I'd love to work with you to I'll pay in full, thanks. So this is more advanced. It's not required. And if you're working with more advanced people like Libby is, the name of the program's going to be important-ish, but speaking to the specific moments that they get their outcomes is going to be most important. It's going to be more important than calling it difference between expansion mastery and expansion codes. The slightly different, but not dramatically different. Okay. All right, fam. I think we're going to wrap up on that. Got our final call for this tomorrow, I believe. We're going through and selling, how to sell these offers on the call. So excited for that. It's going to be fun. All right, fam. Until then, big love. See you next time.
Thank you.